what is web server, then the web application architecture. In web application architecture, we have seen that it is divided into four layers. First one is client, then server, business layer, and data layer. In client layer, we have seen that the client may be a mobile browser, web browser, or any other application. Then in server, web server takes the request from that client and process that request. While processing that request, it connects with the business layer. Business layer consists of application server and file system. That application server may be connected to that data layer with the database and with the external system. These are the four layers of web application architectures. We have seen that client layer, server, and business and data layer. Then we have seen how to create the Node.js web server. While creating the Node.js web server, it makes easy to create a simple web server that processes incoming requests asynchronously. Here you can see the one example how to create a Node server or Node.js web server. Here see this example server.js file. We have declared one variable HTTP, and by using that require function, we are importing Node.js core module, that is HTTP, by using require function. We have taken another variable using var server equals to http dot create server. Create server is the method from that HTTP module, and in that we have written one function consisting of request and response, and we are going to creating a server and handling incoming request. And at last we have written server dot listen in bracket 5000. This is the server is listening this port number that is incoming request, and at last we are going to print that Node.js web server is running at port number 5000. Okay, this is the simple example of creating Node.js web server. Then how to run this, we have seen that write Node.js node and file name, that is server.js. It will show that message we have written in console.log, that is Node.js web server at port 5000 is running. This is how we can create a Node.js web server using simple steps. Okay, now we'll see how to handle that HTTP request and response. Here, for handling that HTTP request, the HTTP create server method is there. HTTP dot create server method from the HTTP core module. It includes request and response. It includes the request and response as the parameters which is supplied by Node.js. The request object can be used to get information about current HTTP request. This request object is used for getting the information about current HTTP request, for example, URL, request header, and the data. And then response object can be used for to send a response for the current HTTP request. Response is for sending the response to that current HTTP request. Here there is one example that how to handle that HTTP request and response in Node.js. Here you can see we have taken one variable HTTP and we are importing Node.js core module by using require function HTTP. Then we have written one variable as server, and by using that create server method from that HTTP core module, like http.create server, we have written inside function with the parameter request and response, and now we are going to create a web server. How? Here, if request.url equals to slash, that means here we are going to check the URL of current request. Here we are going to check the current request and we are going to set the response header. How? Here, request, for that request we are going to set the response header by using response parameter of the create server method. Response, that is res dot write head in bracket 200 comma content type as a text or HTML. Then we are going to set the response content to that header, like response dot write. Inside that we are going to write that HTML code, that is HTML body, then paragraph, that is this is home page, and we are going to end that HTML code here, and at last we are going to end that response like response dot end. Else if we are going to check it's for another page, that is request.url equals to in double quote slash student. For that page we are going to write that response header, and we are going to set that content here. Like similarly we have written for that current request, and we are going to write for another request here, response dot write head 200 content type text slash html. Then we are going to write the content for that response content. We are going to set here by using res dot write. We are going to write that html code, that is we are going to print the message as this is the student page, and we are going to end that response. Else if we are going to check that it is for another page, that is the request.url equals to admin. Similarly we have to write a response header for that, and we have to write set response content for that and end that response. Otherwise we have to print as like else res don't end invalid request. At last, we are going to write server.listen in the bracket 5000. This is the port number. That means it's listen for, server will be listen for that incoming request. And at last, we are going to print console.log node.js web server at port 5000 here. This the port number is running. Okay, this is the example of how we are going to handle or that HTTP request and response here. Here in this example, we have said that request.url, yeah, request.url is used for to check the URL of the current request, and based on that, it sends the response. To send a response, first it sets the response header using write head method and writes a string as a response body using write method. Here we have set the response header and we have write the content using write method. Okay, and at last web server sent the response using end method here. By using end method we have sent the response here. How to run this? Like node then file name. Here you can say after running this file, it will show that node.js web server at port 5000 is running. It will print this message. And if we are running this on the Windows, for Windows user, at web browser write http slash double colon localhost colon 5000. This is the port number, and this will show that current http request. Here it will show this page. This is the by default current request, so it will print this is the home page. Here you can see this is the home page, and similarly it will return for the student. If we write like http colon double slash localhost colon 5000 slash student, then it will print as open the page as this is the student page. Here that now url is student, okay, slash student, so it will print like that this is a student page. Similarly it will, if we write like admin instead of student, if we write here admin, then it will show like this is the admin page. Okay, either it will show that invalid page. The next point is node.js streams. So what are the streams here? Streams are one of the fundamental concepts that power Node.js applications. They are a way to handle reading, writing files, network communications, or any kind of end-to-end information exchange in an efficient way using the streams. Streams are not a concept unique to Node.js. They were introduced in the Unix operating system decades ago, and programs can interact with each other passing streams through the pipe operator. In Unix, we have seen or we have learned that by using the pipe operator, we are executing multiple commands or multiple operations using that pipe operator. Similarly, we are using this concept as a stream in Node.js. So for example, in traditional way, when you tell the program to read a file, the file is read into memory from start to finish, and then you process it. First, we will read that file completely, and we are going to process after that reading. But using streams, you read it piece by piece. Whenever we are going to use streams, it will read that file piece by piece, processing its content without keeping